Hello and welcome to Cricket News Roundup from TVS London. There is a breaking news yesterday that ECB has announced England versus West Indies Test Series. A brilliant welcome news for everybody who loves cricket, who plays cricket across the globe. After so long, cricket is coming back. The Test Series will be played under closed door. Of course, there will be team managements and other staffs will be surrounding and medical staffs will be there. There are strict criteria that need to be maintained, and that was maintained, and only two grounds was selected. One is Hampshire, is Rose Bowl, and Manchester is Old Trafford. So there are criteria. There has to be accommodation at the ground. There has to be one-way system. There has to be sufficient parking. There has to be footsteps for maintaining the social distance. All those things need to be maintained, and this is how they have selected. And one of the things they call it's a biosecurity, and there need to be medical screening facilities. Of course, there are everywhere there are medical screening facilities, but by maintaining the social distance, how you can do that. So it's a brilliant news for everyone. So that West Indies team will be arriving on 9th of June, and they will go straight to Old Trafford. They'll be quarantined there. They'll be doing training over there for 2 weeks before they start their test matches. First test on between 8th and 12th of July, and then followed by another 2 test matches. They'll come back to Rose Bowl and they'll come back again to Old Trafford. So within 20 days, within very short time, they'll be playing 3 test matches in England, which is a brilliant news for cricket communities, not only for England, from across the globe. Many countries can learn from this, because the criteria need to be maintained due to the COVID-19, and the facilities need to be in place to host an international or a first-class match. This is one of the first steps, but this remains very challenging for many countries. Just for an example, PCB, Pakistan Cricket Board, wanted to start the training, and their National Cricket Academy at Lahore, where they wanted to bring about 35 to 40 athletes to bring together to run the training camp. But logistically, they are suffering because their accommodation have got only 21 rooms. So the challenge remains the same for many other countries like Pakistan, and it might be similar in Bangladesh, who knows, in India and Australia too. The recreation cricket in England, across England, is still suspended. There's only training 1-to-1 is allowed, but everybody's from across the cricket communities waiting eagerly for today's announcement. Today, ECB supposed to come up with a plan how recreation cricket can go back. About the training facilities, either they'll be allowed to play any game or not. So, in the new normal, sports will be really suffering. It's not that easy, and it will be challenging for everybody who loves the sports. But we hope together it can come out strongly, and we'll go back and play cricket. We are in Western Park, where this is course cricket pitches. There are 4 cricket pitches, and you can see there are fencing there to maintain there is nobody playing cricket, and they wanted to make sure they maintain the government guidelines. And normally in a weekends here there will be many clubs are coming and playing throughout the day, and they are missing it out, and everybody is hoping that course cricket will be back before the adult cricket. So we are now by the cricket net at Western Park, so where there are 3 nets you can see, but only 2 can be used either side. Center one need to be free, and you are allowed to have only 1-to-1 or 2 person can do the training. And here you can see the 2 person are doing some nets early in the morning. It's about 9:30 in the morning today, and there are 2 people are using, so that throughout the day there will be many people booking these nets and using. And this is one of the home ground for West Ham and Stratford Cricket Club, where regularly twice a week, the people, boys will be, young people will be coming and doing the training here. Hello and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Spirit of Cricket with Ratan. With me today, you are joining TVS London. We have some very special guests today to talk about cricket, recreation cricket, South Asian cricket, and overall the situation about when the people can come back and play the game that we love. So to go further, I just wanted to introduce with my guest today, and my first guest is here, Gulfraz Riaz. Gulfraz is Chairman, National Asian Cricket Council. Gulfraz, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to my show.
Walaikum Ratan. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's really appreciated.
Thank you very much. I got my second guest, who is Sajid Patel, co-founder National Cricket League. Sajid, welcome to my show.
Okay, thank you, Ratan Bhai, and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for having us.
And my next guest is Amjad Aziz from Birmingham, Premier Cricket League. Asmal bhai, assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Walaikum salam, Ratan Bhai. It's Amjad Aziz, and I'm from the Birmingham Parks League, so we're known as the Birmingham Cricket League. But it's great to be here.
Thank you very much. Sorry for the misspelling your name.
No
we will be talking various things today, and of course, one of the key things will be the recreation game and what England and World Cricket Board is doing to get this game back. And also, we'll be talking about the certain development within the ECB. Congratulations to Ian Watmore. Officially, he confirmed as ECB chair, replacing Colin Graves. At the same time, it's sad to see our own Lord Patel stepping down from directorship. So, but most importantly, the South Asian cricket is one of the largest cricket community that playing in this country, and percentage-wise, I think we are about South Asian cricket about 35 to 40%. So to talk about a little bit of South Asian cricket and NACC, I would like Gulfraz to come and say a few words here.
Yeah, Ratan. So our journey, as you know, started back in 2012. That when I, as an employee of the Club Cricket Conference, we established that the Club Cricket Conference had great connectivity with the traditional cricketing clubs in the southeast. And sadly, what we soon realized was that there wasn't a huge connectivity with the South Asian Parks cricketing community around the M25. So when I started as their cricket development manager back in 2012, one of the first things I did was reach out to the South Asian cricketing community around the M25. And I was very lucky that the Club Cricket Conference, Alf Langley, who was chairman at the time, supported me wholeheartedly. That actually, for the Club Cricket Conference to represent recreational cricket, albeit traditional, the South Asian cricketing community was really vital. So large parts of my first couple of years at the Club Cricket Conference was reaching out to the South Asian cricketing community. And, some of the people sitting around the table at the moment at Sajid Patel with NCL, we were, as you know, Elliot Davis, Gujarati Metropolitan League, the British Tamil League, Middlesex Premier League. So in that first year, we connected and affiliated 10 South Asian parks teams or leagues around the M25, with the sole aim really, Ratan, of bringing them closer to the cricketing family and the cricketing stakeholders in around the M25 and in London and the county boards being Middlesex, Essex, Surrey and Kent. So that's where the journey started, initially with the South Asian engagement for the Club Cricket Conference. And then obviously, fast forwarding that, we soon realized that the South Asian cricketing community was vast and not just enclosed around the M25 of the southeast. And then in 2014 onwards, I went on a bit of a trip around the country to places like Bristol, Bolton, Bradford, Birmingham, just to connect with the South Asian cricketing communities. And again, the idea was to bring them closer to their local county boards and bring them closer to the ECB, who at that time were very much engaged with their South Asian Core Cities program. And so the whole journey has been about connectivity and, most importantly, giving a voice of the South Asian cricketing community to be heard at the decision-making end. And as you said, when the South Asian cricketing community make up anything up to 35% of the recreational game, when they've been going, and Amjad will touch on, no doubt, that when you've been going close to 40 years, and in some cases they were still getting changed under trees and in car parks with basic facilities, we just felt that actually there was a body that needed to be established, that was a voice of integration and not segregation, a voice that didn't play the trade union card or the card of aggression. We just set out from the outset, working with the ECB, working with the county boards, and being a body that actually facilitates the cricketing family.
Yeah, brilliant. We will talk about various things, and today's discussion is, of course, we'll be talking about your individual leagues, and we'll be talking about the crisis due to COVID-19 and how the leagues and the clubs and the players are suffering. It's not only the South Asian, it is from every background, and not only in England, it's all over the world. So I'll come back and discuss all those things. Now I'll bring back to Amjad, if you can just talk through about your league, but it's one of the oldest league as well. And if you can talk through about your league and the teams, and then I'll come back to Sajid after that, then we'll start talking about various other things.
No problem, Ratan bhai. Well, the Birmingham Cricket League, which was formerly known as the Birmingham Public Parks Cricket Association, has been going around since 1893. So we've been, we're over 100 years old. And basically what we do is we use the pitches that are provided by Birmingham City Council to play our cricket on at the weekends. In terms of the league itself, this year we're looking to have 40 teams, but obviously with COVID-19, the season has been delayed, so everything's on hold for all of us. And I know all our players are keen to play, but we're also aware that safety is a key concern, particularly when you consider that all the players may be young and able and safe. It's just that we live in extended households as families, so it is possible for you to take the virus back home. And as the national figures are showing, Black, Asian, ethnic minority communities are more susceptible to the virus. And that's the sort of thing that we need to take into account before cricket can restart and go full steam.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go back to Sajid Patel to just say a little brief background about National Cricket League, Sajid, and then we'll come back and talk about the other teams and etc.
Thank you, Ratan bhai. Obviously, the National Cricket League we formed in 2012. So obviously we had 8 seasons go by. We're in obviously we had 52 teams who registered to play this year. See how it looks like after once cricket does resume, if it does resume, is another thing. We've been doing a lot of things, from services from Sunday programs to youth cricket, supporting youth cricket, over 50s. We were so close of getting launching the women's game as well, but I think it didn't happen, but it might be something to explore next year. And yeah, so obviously through these difficult times, I'm sure we're going to cover that on what we have been doing as a league in regards to this lockdown, this COVID-19, how we've been trying to provide some positivity to people. So yeah, so that's all from us from the NCL for the time being. So I'm sure we'll ask other questions.
Yeah, definitely. We will talk about it. And because of this pandemic, that there are various things need to be consider. Of course, your own safety. Then it comes to your family, and then we talk about sports and recreation. And of course, the everybody is taking maximum care. And we as the South Asian community, the data shows that we are in a back foot, because it's showing that it's hitting us hard. Bangladeshi community, Pakistani community, Indian community, and we are part of it, so that we need to be more vigilant than everything. Just go back to our COVID-19 situation, and if I can come back to Gulfraz, that football is coming back, closed door, this month, I think 2 weeks time, and cricket will be next month. And there are cricket. The government has its own guideline. 6 people can come out and do exercise from 6 different households. Of course, there are people are frustrating that ECB is taking too long to come up with this guideline. So can you just talk through from your experience what's going on in the background and what is happening?
Yeah, well, funny enough, I've just come off a conference call with the ECB about an hour ago, and there are plans, Ratan, to start recreational cricket as soon as possible. That allows, from a safety point of view, from government advice, and so those measures are being taken very seriously by the ECB as we speak. And the latest news is that actually it could be within the next month or so, depending on if the situation keeps improving or worsens. But it's a difficult one. I think what we're talking about in terms of football and understanding that professional football is going to be played behind closed doors, as will cricket. So in a reality, we know that the revenue that is generated via Sky and then other channels for hosting and showing live sports has a great bearing on the money that actually comes into the recreational game or the professional game. It trickles its way down. So there is a priority where the broadcasters are probably dictating things at the moment. But look, from our perspective, yes, it's in our Asian DNA that we want to get out there and start playing cricket as soon as possible. I think we've just got to remember, as Amjad says, that from a safety point of view, that's at the forefront of everybody's mind. And if we can get that aspect of it right, then we've got hopefully many years to play cricket in a way that it was before, or in a different form. But I can assure you that the ECB definitely are looking at ways to start recreational cricket, and some of the rumours out there that the season's going to be cancelled or anything, that's far from the truth. It's just about making sure every safety aspect that can be covered is being discussed and planned to be covered.
All right. Okay. If I can ask a question to our panel, let's see, Sajid and Amjad bhai, just it's hard to understand for me that that let's not talk about the recreational cricket, the game. We talk about the training. People wanted to come and just do training, and I think it's about 7-8 days. The government announced that 6 people can come and do exercise together. Is it that hard to come up with a plan? How can cricket be played or be practiced, maintaining the social distance? Cricket is a non-contact sport, all right? So can Amjad if you can say a few things, then I'll ask Sajid to say his version of this. Let's see.
I think in terms of cricket being played with 6 people in a net, I think it is physically possible that you can do that, because you could take the safeguards that they must maintain social distance, different bowlers have different run-ups, as long as they don't congregate, everybody uses their own ball, and the batsman...
I'm just talking about the training. I'm not talking about the game.
No, I'm talking about the game. I'm talking about the net session. So if you're training, that's right. Yeah, if you're training, there is nothing to stop the batsman not from touching the ball. They can kick the ball back to you, in a net situation. That's the bit that I don't understand, that in terms of the net, the restrictions around how many people can actually use a net, as long as they can maintain social distance, I don't think there should be an issue. And I envisage that you probably got more risk, or you got a greater level of risk if you went down to Ealing, Wembley, in Birmingham, Alum Rock, Sparkhill, and did your shopping there, because the amount of people that are in our shopping centres, I mean, you probably have a greater chance of catching the virus shopping than you have with cricket, with the right mindset and you maintain social distance.
Yeah.
So I don't see why there is any restriction.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's a common sense. Sajid, if I may ask you the same questions.
A lot of it's obviously covered by Amjad Bhai and what he said. Obviously, there's certain cautions that you look at. So obviously, yes, if you put yourself in a net situation, you have obviously 1 batsman, 5 bowlers bowling with 6 people in a net. Again, it all depends on how you manage that net. I know we try our best to sort of say, everyone has individual cricket balls and make sure that that is your cricket ball for the session, or you bring your own. That's one of the things you can look at. But again, it's really hard to manage because not everyone will have the same cricket ball. Do we start using those disposable gloves? You know, can you bowl with disposable gloves? It's just, I think, as rightly as Amjad said, if we got more chances of catching this if we go into shopping malls or supermarkets or town centres if they're quite busy, than being in a cricket net environment with 6 people.
Yeah, definitely. And it is, of course, it is a common sense. But the problem is, we as a South Asian, I don't know how strongly we follow the guidelines. And you know that I could see that a lot of parks are still busy, even when there was a restriction. Only 2 people can be outside, and there are a number of people running around, you know, with the ball, bat, and then the open park they're doing. So I'm sure, Gulfraz, you come across part of your role with the NSCC, and a lot of people are asking. So if you can just talk through about the consequences and etc.
Yeah, I would look at it as a possible way of integrating the two the setups, the traditional English club setup and the South Asian cricketing community. Now, we know that as soon as the season's finished, the South Asian cricketing community go indoors, playing indoor cricket or indoor nets, and almost play all year round. Now, what's really interesting for us is that actually, if cricket on a Sunday, for example, is ceased, and midweek cricket is the other one that the South Asian community play, if those 2 cricket games are not going on, then where are the South Asian cricketing communities getting their cricket fix? And their frustrations possibly could be more around there aren't any facilities for them to practice or to net in. I know you showed a small video at the beginning, Ratan, that there's some really good net facilities around, but by and large around the country, if the South Asian guys are going from Sunday to Sunday playing their cricket and there's nothing in between, then is there a real opportunity here for the cricketing family, especially the traditional cricketing family who've got clubs and net facilities, to perhaps open those up once a day, absolutely monitored, from a safety point of view? But could we use this as an opportunity where the South Asian cricketing community guys are invited by the mainstream established clubs with their facilities, and at least somehow the South Asian cricketing community is getting some form of cricket, some form of practice in a net environment? So I think there's a real opportunity here of integration. I think there's a real opportunity here where some clubs that can open their doors would probably get the benefit of engagement with the South Asian community, and maybe even getting some of the players to come and play for them as and when the season gets back to normal. So for me, the question really is, yes, we know the South Asian cricketing community by and large play in the parks, and a lot of these parks under guidance and under watch for the local authorities, but actually, where are their cricketing experience if there are no net facilities?
Yeah, that's right. So that we'll be coming and talking about the facilities, because the number of South Asian clubs are based in, they are not clubs, there are a lot of teams, and they rely on facilities from others. So that we will talk about those in our 2 guests with Amjad and Sajid, because they're playing a big role within the community. So I'm just going to play 2 videos, very short videos, which I got it today. So I'll play the first one for Birmingham Cricket League, and then we'll come back and talk about that league. Then I'll come back to Sajid. Let's wait and see the video. Sorry, it was the National Cricket League's video. I thought of playing the other one. So that let's talk with Sajid about your league and the challenges are facing, and I know that the question the teams and the players are asking to you regarding this lockdown and the facilities and the challenges.
Obviously, this, as you can imagine, and I'm sure it's the same with Amjad Bhai, we're getting so many phone calls or messages from inquiries from our club reps, from our team reps, from various different players, all asking the same question is, when is cricket going to start, or when are we going to have cricket this season? These are always the common questions that we get. Obviously, our common answer is obviously that, we're following the government guidelines, the ECB guidelines, working with our partners as well. And also we try and see how we try and provide the maximum opportunity of cricket to everyone. So we do want to obviously trying to adapt the planning on playing a season if we can. And it all depends on how many weeks we have available, how the facilities look like, on how many facilities are ready or not. Obviously, the impact from other sports as well, because obviously it's not only impacted cricket, but football as well and other sports. How does facilities look like? And obviously, we do have regular dialogues with the likes of Essex Cricket and obviously Gulfraz Riaz with the ECB and everyone. So we all trying to work together to try and see how cricket will look like going forward. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I will come back to Gulfraz with some questions. So that let's play the short video that I have from Birmingham League. So that, and then we'll come back and talk. Amjad, it must be a challenging because your league is running for so long, and for your clubs, and you must be getting the similar questions.
Absolutely, Ratan Bhai. It's exactly the same, and I would imagine it's all the same all across the country. Players will ring and ask when is the season starting, because every time they hear a government announcement on the easing of the lockdown, they sometimes automatically assume that also applies to cricket as well. So it's quite disappointing to have to tell them that whilst it's been announced on TV, the ECB will move at its own pace to issue its guidance, but we have another major stakeholder, and our main stakeholder is Birmingham City Council, because without the pitches we can't actually play. So we're also subject to the noise or word that's coming out of Birmingham City Council. And the City Council have already told us that they need 3 weeks to get the wickets in order before any game can be played.
Yeah.
So even when the announcement is made, if the city is proactively, building into its schedule that the announcement is going to be, for example, the 1st of July, we'll start working on the pitches now to make them available for the 1st of July. Then that's a different matter. But if the City Council is waiting for the government announcement or ECB announcement that the 1st of July is when it starts, and then, 3 weeks later, the pitches will be available, you do then begin to enter the realms of whether or not whatever's left is viable. I mean, how do you get a season's worth of cricket in if it's the first week in September when your season stops? And as Sajid Bhai said, with these other sports that are overrunning, we don't know what their governing bodies are going to do. Are they going to try and complete the football season? In some cases, in some sites, football is played as well as cricket, and then you've also got rugby. Rugby will probably have some games left over, potentially. So all these things will impact on cricket, certainly in Birmingham, in terms of facilities and availability.
I think there are a lot of people, a lot of players, particularly young players, that they're forgetting that that there are other sports need to play, because there are questions that people asking why can't. There are sometimes the last couple of years we saw that even October the weather looks brilliant, you can play cricket, and they're asking why can't we extend the league, but that there are majority of the grounds are park grounds, and even some traditional clubs grounds are shared by different sports.
You also have the city council, have allocating particular windows for different sports.
Yeah.
So, they might have 20 weeks for cricket, then 20 weeks for football, and then there is a small crossover. And that is why, with global warming and all, that's why the weather in October looks great. And, you sometimes wonder why we're playing in April, May when it's raining, when in October it's so great. But that implies that the city council, or the officials at the city council have got to meet with these other sporting bodies and see whether, there needs to be a realignment of the seasons as they're traditionally regarded. But
absolutely,
that's a hard task, in terms of getting anyone to move on that.
Yeah. So I think there's something that there are a lot of people are talking about, that either we can realign the cricket season with the global weather pattern. Now it's because it's changing, but again, it's all depending on the facilities and how many ground people have. Coming back to Gulfraz, that ECB has come up with lots of funding, particularly for the club, for support with the grants, with the loans, and so on. And majority of lot of South Asian clubs are not traditional clubs, and that though they have also their regular spendings, they ordered ball, they ordered kit, they ordered various things, and a lot of them are frustrated. So that if you can just say about that, explain about that scheme, but still that scheme is there, or it is just over, or is there any way that the teams can access to that scheme again?
No, the scheme is there. I think what we're finding actually, Ratan, is the South Asian cricketing community is pay as you play. So it's got less overheads like a traditional English club would have in terms of a clubhouse or electricity bills and so on. So it's a very different demographic that the two cricketing setups have. But the reality is that actually South Asian cricketing community leagues up and down the country have got sponsors, and a lot of times their sponsors are local businesses, be it restaurants or local supermarkets, and those businesses and those establishments are at this moment worried about their businesses, and they haven't got money like ploughing into South Asian leagues and keeping them afloat like they've done for the last God knows how many years. So the whole demographics of finance and sponsorship has hit the South Asian cricketing community really, really hard. And so the loan scheme and the grant scheme are there, but I think the ECB have put some very strict stipulations in terms of what can be applied for, what amounts can be given. But what we've got to understand, and Amjad will tell you, is that the South Asian cricketing community is very much self-reliant and has been for many, many years. Way before the South Asian Action Plan came along, or the Core City Programme via the ECB and then the county boards, these leagues have been going for 35, 40 years. So, it just shows you how resilient they've been. And I think Amjad is absolutely right that at a time when we should have been talking about greater integration between the South Asian cricketing community and the traditional English clubs and setups, that division still seems to be there, and the South Asian cricketing community is at the beck and call almost of the local authorities, and we all know the local authorities have had a huge amount of cutbacks, and that's had a detrimental effect on the quality of cricket pitches that are prepared, the quality of grounds that are prepared. So the real worry, as Amjad said, is that when the green light is given, it's going to be a further 3 weeks before local authorities may or may not get the grounds ready. And at the moment, their priorities are, of course, more important in terms of working in cemeteries and cutting public hedges and verges back. So it's really difficult for the local authorities to get. And the fear for me is that actually, when there hasn't been any cricket work on a square or a pitch, and the season starts July time, then if there's a drought like it has been at the moment, I know some rain is forecast next week, so it actually becomes dangerous. So that's something that we should really be mindful of, that yes, the facilities might be ready, yes, the South Asian cricketing community is ready to go and play. But actually, are the facilities going to be adequate and not dangerous? Because at times they're not fit for cricket, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll come back and talk about core city and South Asian strategy in a bit. But you pointed out regarding the South Asian leagues and the clubs are heavily rely on their own business. In fact, there are lot of teams. Owner might have a restaurant, might have a business, and they are supporting their friends, their family. This is how it's been running. And due to this COVID-19, and we know that business are suffering big time, and it will have a consequences for the league, for the teams, and the players, and sponsorship, and so on. So if I can come back to Amjad to talk about what are the challenges you see going forward in terms of finance?
I mean, in terms of finance, if you have a look at what's actually predicted, the economy, recession is predicted for the UK economy. Now, most of the guys that play in our leagues work in manual, well, certainly in my league, work in manual occupations. They're either taxi drivers, they might have a manual job in a factory. So consequently, in terms of income, their income's been hit, particularly if they've been furloughed, or in some cases, they may even be laid off. So you have the option, come the weekend, if you're a taxi driver, do you play cricket or do you work? And that's a very hard choice that people are definitely going to have to make. Are they going to play cricket or are they going to work?
Yeah, it's challenging in terms of the making your own decision, because it's difficult. We understand, not only for South Asian, for everybody. If I come back to Sajid regarding the same thing, that the leagues are depending on the sponsors, the teams are depending on the sponsors, and what are the feedback you are getting from your 60-odd teams?
The feedback we're getting is obviously some teams have already got their kits from obviously some of them have arranged or an agreement with the sponsors at first, but then obviously with all this has happened, a lot of the teams have sort of said that the sponsors have now pulled out or we've got everything printed off. So yeah, it's a tough situation even for a local business to ask for a sponsorship deal. So with the impact it's hit everyone, this whole situation. We just don't know how things are, and it's just moving in the right direction. And as Amjad said, it's people like taxi drivers or self-employed people or freelancers, or even those who are just working, either been furloughed or obviously been, even worse, not work for them at all. And it is a question that will ask themselves that what's more important, my livelihood, for my responsibility for my families and my loved ones, or just to go out and play cricket? I mean, it can impact both ways, because the clubs need finances to run the club, because they've got to pay for grounds or official umpire fees, balls, everything. It's just as I said, it's a real domino. It's a negative domino, I would say, on how things are sort of falling, where it's impacting from the upper level, even going down the levels as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In every level, starting from the first class, and of course, yesterday ECB has announced the England will be playing West Indies, and again, this is still under subject to government approval. I hope that things will go on. We'll come back and talk about it. If I may ask Gulfraz regarding, we touched on the core city program. We touched on you touched on the South Asian strategy that ECB has spent quite a bit of time to prepare all those things, and how that benefited the South Asian league. If you can just say league and the teams, what was the positive or what was the negative from that?
Yeah, look, I think that question, to be honest, the best people to answer that are the leagues and the teams and the community themselves. From a National Asian Cricket Council point of view, we speak to a lot of leagues, a lot of teams, a lot of people. And the positives, I guess, are that actually the South Asian communities come to light. The ECB have recognised that there's a huge community out there, making up anything up to 35% onwards. So the recognition and the you've got to credit the ECB for taking that on and finding ways via the Core City program, but then more recently the South Asian Action Plan, which was done under lots of consultations and lots of meetings, and seeing where we could support and help sustain and grow the South Asian cricketing community. So the paper itself and the strategy itself certainly has got grounds. It's now coming up, well, it's just past 2 years. It was launched in May 2018. So I think it's a really appropriate time to stop and review and assess. And there's been some positives. We've had facilities that have been improved, especially, say, for example, around Luton. There's some non-turf pitches have gone in. Some communities will say the non-turf pitch isn't the solution. Some will say that actually it's good for us to play some form of cricket, and some basic netting has gone in for the communities to practice and to train in. But overall, this I think really is a really poignant moment to stop and review and assess. I don't actually have any doubts. The intention and the vision of the ECB South Asian Action Plan was absolutely well thought through and important for the community to progress. My concerns are the county boards, and actually how much the county boards have interacted with the South Asian cricketing community on their doorstep, some of them going back 40 years. And this is a really good moment of actually, I appreciate that a lot of county board staff are on furlough, but actually where was the connectivity, where was the understanding the needs of the South Asian cricketing community up and down the country? So the question marks and the answers are to the community and the county boards. I think from Lord St John's Wood NWA, the strategy was pretty good, but actually the question is what impact the delivery has had, and for the community themselves to step up and say, well, actually it has had benefits, it hasn't. And it's a great moment to stop and review. Nobody's saying that actually it was a wrong strategy, but it actually has got some serious questions that need to be asked and answered.
Yeah, I think it's fairly well consulted. I think I attended, I think, 1 or 2 consultation. I think everybody is here attended, I think, 1 or 2 across, and it was discussed with everybody before it was published. And again, on the grassroots, that the leaks are there. This need to be benefited them. So that I'll come back to Amjad. So what is your thoughts? So that where is your league or your clubs or teams have any sort of benefit, or what was the positive from your side?
I think in terms of the strategy document itself, as Gulfraz says, it was well intentioned and it had the right sort of thinking behind it. Obviously, any strategy documentation comes down to its implementation at a local level. And in terms of, the changes that I can see, I'll be honest, I can see very little in terms of how it affects our league or what it's delivered for our league. Certainly in terms of, the strategy element that was concerned with non-turf pitches. Non-turf pitches are only acceptable or should have only been put in where there was a demand for them. For us as a league, the introduction of non-turf pitches has meant that grass wickets are being replaced with non-turf pitches. And as a consequence, teams don't want to play on there. People who are used to playing on grass do not want to play on non-turf wickets. And as a league, we've lost 2 divisions. I'll be totally honest with you. And they do say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So in terms of what the strategy has actually delivered, I agree with Gulfraz. You probably need to stop and reassess. Is it delivering what it was meant to deliver, or do you just, carry on and do things the same as before? In terms of all these grand strategies and everything else, the game of cricket, whether it's South Asian or, the wider game, certainly in the UK, it's the lack of cricket that's being played at secondary school, which is the main driver for the shortages of players. If you introduce, there is an element where children play cricket in primary school with Chance to Shine and other organizations delivering some element of cricket, but then there is a gap when they go to secondary school where between the ages of 11 and 16 and 17, they don't play cricket because the schools don't have cricket on offer for them. So if a child who's played cricket at primary school suddenly then gets a break of 6 or 7 years, and unless they live with a family member or their family's keen on cricket and takes them to play cricket, children are not being exposed to cricket, then, getting the throughput of youngsters coming into the wider world of cricket, that's the main issue, and everyone knows that that's the main issue. How you address it, that's where the strategy needs to be focused, in my opinion.
Yeah. If I can come back to Sajid, of course, you have teams across London, and you got about 4 or 5 divisions and 60 odd teams. So the similar thing, so that it definitely have some positive, and everything has some sort of loopholes and negativity. So that your view on the South Asian strategy, that and where it is.
I think the thing is, even before the strategy, as obviously Gulfraz highlighted, it already existed way before that. I mean, obviously, Amjad by saying that the league's been running since 1890s. Obviously, the cricket has been, a non-traditional cricket has been running for so many years. And if we talk about South Asian cricket, I mean, that's been running since, in my estimate, is obviously been in the late 60s or in the 60s. So cricket leagues have been running quite well. The problem we've always had is obviously, and there's some really good work going on from the community side of things. So Capital Kids Cricket providing to state schools and all the other initiatives, to all the other leagues who do so well. I think where we are in East London, I think the Essex County Cricket Board have been very lucky that they've got so much brilliant work already existing, which has been brilliant. And we've been driving a lot of great cricket going on. In regards to the strategy, obviously, has a strategy brought anything to us? I would say no. And where I feel that there's been a lack is the lack of opportunity to our young players. And as what Amjad did highlight, that there is a gap between primary school and into secondary school, where a lot of state schools don't provide cricket. And you would know, Ratan, very well through Capital Kids Cricket, of the challenges that you have and the clubs that you've set as well to try and bridge that gap. And then obviously county level age groups, they fall behind, and then we're looking at trying to get them to catch up in development. So there's not been that much opportunity for the young adults, to be honest with you. We've tried various different methods, from exhibitional fixtures, from playing against professional second 11 players, but there's not been anything after that, to be honest with you, where these young players can get to be polished off a little bit more to upskill themselves.
Yeah, I think in terms of providing young people opportunity, Essex has done quite a lot in terms of providing a pathway, giving games to the second 11, the development squad. All those things are positive. So if I come back to, again, I'll come back to Gulfraz later on. If I come back to Amjad regarding, let's see that ECB wanted to review this plan after 2 years, because as you said that this need to stop now and reflect and move forward, maybe with something else. What would be your ask from ECB, from your club point of view or your league point of view? What do you wanted to see that ECB is supporting you?
I would like to see the ECB work more closely with Birmingham City Council, who are our major pitch provider, to improve the quality of the surfaces and the quantity of the pitches available for us to play cricket on. It's as simple as that.
I think ECB is doing that, because as I can remember, because I am part of a number of local authorities, part of my role with the Capital Kids Cricket, and I could see that ECB has got regional facility development officers and the managers, and they do consult with various bodies to make sure that they provide support. Gulfraz, if you can come back to this section, because this is something very, very important for the leagues, particularly South Asian League, the facility. all right, and ECB is one of the high focus on NTPs, all right, and where there are South Asian, they don't want it to play on NTP because everybody wanted to play the grassroots, because everybody wanted to play the decent level, because they've been playing there for a long time. So what's your take on it, about ECB's plan, and how can you make the bridge between the South Asian and the ECB and the council and make sure that their voice is heard? I think that is still their voice is not heard then.
Yeah, Ratan, before I go on to answer that question, I just want to highlight what Sajid and Amjad both kind of alluded to. I would actually go on record to say that within the next decade, the South Asian cricketing community up and down the country could see the very first signs of cracks appearing where they are going to be struggling for players. At the moment, there's a huge, there's a huge vibrancy about the South Asian guys playing cricket, and the leagues are quite buoyant up and down the country. But the real question is, where are the youngsters? Where are the South Asian youth? And let's not forget, the South Asian youngsters are fourth generation in now, and we're becoming absolutely, products of our environment. So we are going to become more and more British, and we are becoming more and more English. And the reality is that cricket may not be seen as a priority because there's other social ills and attractions that are taking children away from the game. So the four of us grew up playing cricket because our elders were playing cricket or were involved from a early age. But Amjad's point is absolutely right. And with Capital Kids, Ratan, you see it, that if we are not driving programs like All Stars or Dynamo Cricket programs, which are ECB and possibly solutions for the wider game and the wider cricketing community, we can discuss non-turf pitches, we can discuss about pathways, we can discuss about the next Moeen Ali. The reality is that if the South Asian boys and girls are not getting into cricket, the danger really is that these leagues, the Birmingham League, the Tamil leagues, the Indian and Sri Lankan, Bangladeshi leagues, up and down the country are in real danger. And 10 years will creep up on us a lot quicker than we think. And I think priority has to be what is going to help us grow and sustain the South Asian cricketing community, because we can have non-turf pitches up and down the country in 10 years' time when nobody's using them. So I think that's the real focus. And NACC are in plans to hold a one-day conference where we were looking to invite off-season around October, November time, and invite all the South Asian Cricketing League heads and stakeholders to Edgbaston and have an open and honest dialogue of what is the real state of play and of the South Asian parks cricketing community. Because, if we don't discuss it, we don't air it. I know Amjad and I have spoken, me and Sajid have spoken, and Ratan, you work with children in schools. The reality is that we could actually go into this blind and realize that we've got the facilities. Yes, we've made relationships with county boards, but actually our youth are not playing the cricket. And if that isn't addressed in some capacity, then non-turf pitches and facilities and outdoor nets won't mean a huge amount because they'll be totally redundant. So yeah, I think that's the real focus. With regards to the non-turf pitches, I think Amjad alluded to earlier, with consultations from the stakeholders and the communities, you ultimately get the answers. Yes, we realize that the local authorities, their hands are tied with budget cuts, etc. But the reality is that actually let the communities drive their community programs with the local authorities, because they're the main stakeholders, and then bring in the county boards and set bite-sized manageable projects where everybody is held accountable for what they do or don't do.
Yeah, I think we can talk a lot about our community, and there's a real concern that you did mention that that the future generation we will not have sufficient players. That will be listening. There is a crack. There is a division between not division. I won't say the division. There is a that focus within the community.
Ratan, you know that 2 leagues in East London, who I won't name, but close to 30 years of history each, both very nearly did not have a season to go into this year. And that's alarm bells ringing, because whichever county board is involved with the South Asian Action Plan, whichever one's getting core city funding, the reality is that actually, if on your watch, in your backyard, these leagues have been going for 30 years and the South Asian Action Plan is probably 6-7 years of age, well, actually, when the whole focus is there to help and support the South Asian community, and we're not even talking monetary here, to help and support them, and the focus is rightly on them, how can they have survived for 23 years on their own? And when the whole cricketing family comes together to support in one capacity or another, that they may have gone out of business? That is the real question, and that's the alarm bells ringing, that actually, has the focus been on the right type of help, or are we just ticking a few boxes for the sake of it? And I think it's time for honest dialogue, and if it means having ugly conversations, then so be it. But we really need to stop and assess all the stakeholders, because within 10 years, we could see some very well-organized, respected, historical leagues disappearing.
Yeah. So I think, as I said, that we can talk about everything quite a lot. And that, as I said, that we had 1 hour. It's almost 1 hour now. So I just wanted to go back to the ECB's announcement, which has announced yesterday regarding our the test match, that closed-door test match will be held. What is your reaction, Amjad, if you just give your reaction on that? At least the cricket is coming back.
I think it's great news. It's wonderful to that. It ultimately also depends on whether the cricket is going to be shown on free-to-air television, or is it only going to be shown on Sky. But I think as a start to reintroducing cricket, I certainly welcome it, and I think it's the right move.
Yeah, brilliant. So this is something everybody is looking forward. At least this is our cricket season, and since end April, I think most of the league starts. Now, Sajid, of course, about the ECB's announcement that you must have heard yesterday, and we all are waiting for today's announcement. There's supposed to be any announcement today. I think it's delayed. Sajid, your reaction on the ECB's announcement yesterday, and what do you think the people their reflection of the players?
Well, I think obviously cricket coming back is always good news if and when it happens, and we always keeping a close eye on various different things of how we can get recreational cricket back. I think that's more important for us, because there are a lot of people, especially in the communities, who are suffering from various different things, from mental health and those sort of things, where some people are impacted on their livelihood, on their work stuff. They're looking at ways of how they can provide positivity, and we're trying to do our very best, and I'm sure we all are trying to provide that positivity for everyone. So hopefully we're really keen to hear what the ECB has to say.
Yeah, thank you very much to all of you. I just will give you about 10-15 seconds of each of you. Just say your finishing word, and if you wanted to talk about a little bit more, just go ahead. So good for us to start with.
Yeah, Ratan, look, thank you for inviting. Thank you for this platform. I think it's really important. I know you invite lots of guests from around the country. I think we from the National Asian Cricket Council appreciate that, and we've got lots of really important community people that we can introduce to you to have on the program, so you can get a more national picture of the vast contribution the South Asian cricketing community is doing up and down the country.
Thank you very much, and I think this is very important that not only we need to know the stories. I think everybody needs to know the stories, including the media. I think media plays a big role, and this is by accident. I have started this because we've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings, Zoom coaching, and I thought we'll just use a platform and talk about spirit of cricket and how we can bring community together and see what happens. So, if I may ask Sajid, your last remarks about cricket, recreation cricket, and etc.
Well, first of all, big thank you very much, Ratan Bhai, and for this platform, TBS London. Obviously, it's even by accident, it's turned out to be an absolute gem of a program and a platform. So all we want to do is obviously we're trying our best, along with working with various different things, to try and get recreational cricket back, get people playing cricket, get them out there, because that's what we want them to do. But obviously, we want to make sure that all the environment is safe and measures are taken in place. So thank you much for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining. So please stay safe, and we will be talking a lot about cricket and community cricket going forward. And please make sure that you subscribe this channel, YouTube channel, and like our Facebook page. We will be talking a lot about cricket, and we'll be bringing some inspirational people so that you can hear from them about their stories. And young people need to learn about what spirit of cricket and what cricket can bring to their life going forward. So for waiting for the next guest, and we will see you soon. The next Saturday, we have a guest from different countries coming from Singapore, from Dubai and Netherlands, and talk about coast cricket and the international tour. So please do join us 2 o'clock on Saturday. For time being, goodbye and Assalamu alaikum.